Hi there, this is Chuck with Pocket Snakes. Thought I would show you the process of tying a heel knot on the end of this 275 paracord whip. I built this up in leather in the previous video and installed an NFC 215 chip in the end. And when I trimmed down the edge, I left a couple little gaps to tuck the ends underneath. You'll need some paracord. I guesstimated, so I chose about 9 foot. This is a little over an inch and a quarter, about an inch and a quarter in diameter, or 30 millimeters almost, 29 millimeters, something like that. The height of this knot is at most the same as the diameter. It's a kind of a square format knot. So this is 1 inch and it's a little bit wider than it is tall. So it's going to take the same amount of material because it's going to wrap the ends as 1 1/4 inches by 1 1/4 inches. Now there's a couple ways to go about doing this. One is to do it right on the whip, and one is to use a mandrel like this. This is Horween horse butt that's wet molded to create removable rings. And you'll notice that this ring is bigger than that ring. So if you want to build your knot and then transfer it, you'll need more material. This is a rawhide clip. So the way this works, if you wanted to use the mandrel, is you put it in here and just snap it on and drop the mandrel head on. And then you've got the ability to start tying immediately. I'm going to just attempt to do it on the whip in this case because it saves a little bit of snug down time. You still have to snug it down. So I'm going to pin this like so up underneath the assembly. And there's 9 foot of material, so I'm going to do kind of a square start. You come across, you want it to be about 90 degrees, 45 degrees on the way up. And there's 9 feet of material, so it's going to take a bit of material. So to get to the needle, and I'm basically trying to keep it in the same orientation. And that's one of the challenges with round paracords versus flat ones. It's harder to tell which side's up because they'll shift on you. So twist any loops out as you go if you can. This goes this way. I'm going to turn the whip, bring it up. And I'm not super fast at this, but it's fun tying these knots. Notice the orientation's not all twisted up, so I haven't added any extra twist. I'm going to put these like right on top of this little chip. So we have to cross this one, and we're going under this one. So we've crossed 2, and we're going under 1. And over 2. So one thing you can do to keep the knots out of this is kind of throw it sideways and then pull it through. But no matter what you do, you will have it twist a little bit on you. Now this is 275 paracord that the guts have been removed on. So we're going under this one. You don't want to catch any of the fibers. By the way, this is a 3mm paracord needle for 275 paracord or 550 if you want to use it for 550. Go over this one, under this one. You don't want to put a lot of tension into this because it's going to have to take all the excess layers you put into this. So the neater, you don't have to have it super neat at this point, but you can already see kind of the square form at the top. So we've got all 4 of those. And you could do this in separate pieces, but you'd have to bury a lot of ends, and there'd be more chance the knot would try and undo itself. And this is just a cover knot. It's nothing super fancy. Could turn it into something fancier. Could turn it into a pineapple knot. I haven't really decided. Usually I don't do that. So I have hooked through and I've caught a fiber maybe. No, I haven't caught a fiber. I'm dragging a fiber. Okay. Now the nice part is this gets actually faster as you have less cord. So to start with, it's kind of horrible. So under that one, over this one, under and parallel to this one. So I'm going to show you how to expand. This is a 4 bight. We're going to go to a 6 bight. So we're going to expand this knot. And you can keep expanding this until you get it to where you want it. Now you could paint this white, or you could, there's a bunch of things you can do. You could wrap it with hockey tape, give it a little padding if you wanted. Okay, so we want to stay parallel where we're at. So we're following that on the way this way, over, under, and up here, we're going to go over 2. And we're going to go under, following the left side, we're following the right side of the next strand. So we're following the left side on the way up and the right side of the strand on the way down, because we're expanding. So we're going over the X and underneath. And sometimes just knowing how to think about certain things is sort of useful. Took me a while to figure out expanding Turk's head knots, and I've taught a couple classes on expanding these things, and I still mess it up once in a while. So you want to leave this loop a little loose because you're going to go up and around and through and back down and some other stuff, and it's a mess, but that's okay. We'll fix it. So now we're following this side. So we were following the right side, now we're following the left side. So this one goes, we went under with this one, now we're going over and then under this one. And here it gets a little weird because we went over 2 on the other side. We're going to go over 2 on the bottom side as well. So we're going to go over this X and we're going to come underneath and do the opposite of what those 2 pairs do. You want to make sure you're not picking up fibers. It's one reason to use a dull needle. Or blunt the end of a needle if it gets sharpened by whatever thing that happens with this. Okay, so those 2 go under, we're going over, and then we're going to split, and we're going to go under this one and up. And now we're at the top of the knot. And it looks like a mess. We'll figure it out as we go. We're going to have to jimmy this thing around and figure it out. It's okay. Now we're at the top. And we have to go over this one here. And we got to come up. So we want over this one, under this one. I'm not pulling this very snug. I might even have too much tension in it, even though it looks super loose. Okay. Turn this whole thing. So those 2 go under, so we're going to go over. We're going over this one and under this one. Okay. Under this one, over this one, we got to go under and pick up this one. Okay. So now we're back to the start of this knot. As soon as we go over this strand and underneath, and we're parallel. And at this point, I would suggest you take and straighten it up a little bit. Not a ton, and you don't want it very tight. And it's a mess, but we're going to fix some of that right here. So we're going to slide some of this over. We're going to slide this over to the left. We're going to slide this one over to the left. Slide this one over to the left. Drop this one down a little bit. Drop this one down a little bit. Drop this one down a little bit. And we're going to bump these up a little bit. We're basically trying to make these diamonds more or less the way they ought to be before we continue. They're not going to be perfect. You're not going to get it. I can't get it. Maybe you're better at this than I am, which is entirely possible. But you'll start to see a hexagon form up at the top. You want to get that hexagon somewhat even and fairly centered on the top. That may require some shifting of strands to get the pattern about right, because we're going to expand this yet again to an 8, which means instead of a hexagon, it's going to be an octagon. Okay. So there's a big gap there. We're going to try and lower it a little bit. Raise this one a little bit. And the more you play around with the Turk's head knots, the more you get the gist of them. It's not so important to remember a pattern as it is to remember which lead you're following on the way up and the way down during an expansion pass. And you have to, at the end of a whip, it's kind of nice because you have a handle so you know which way is down. Unless you turn around and are ambidextrous or something. So running parallel to this one, following it on the right side. So we're going to come over this one, under this one. And you'll see the number of diamonds increase each time you add one pass. So I'm going to turn the whip. And on really long whips, you'll twirl the end of it into a spiral. And pay attention with your ears too, because if something catches some fibers, it'll whine at you. Okay, so we're going over this X because we're doing another expansion pass, and we're going to go to the left side of this strand. So under, over, under, over, under. Now, that looks weird, but it's actually easier to go through all that and then just pull it through in parallel to keep it straight. And it may not be perfect, but if it has a bit of a roll, you want to catch it before the loop gets to the end. And again, you do not want to tension this way up. You want it nice and loose because you're going to have to go up, through, under, and over again. Okay, we're at the bottom again. So we're going to go over 2 and follow the left side, but we're going to do the opposite. So we're crossing 2 strands here. So this X, we're going to get in here and pop this open. Be nice when we're down to just 6 feet of this material instead of 8, 7, or 8. Okay, so we need to come, those 2 go under. We're basically doing the opposite. And 275 paracords, an interesting material. I like it. I like doing finer platings and finer work. I find more enjoyment out of it. It's more of a pain to do. It takes longer, but it's more beautiful when you're done. Okay, so I'm going over that strand and under that strand because we're at the top where we went over the X. You'll see, go over the top, underneath. And I would recommend you kind of pull the whole assembly this way a little bit. Just a little easier to manage. Okay, and these 2 go over, so we're going under. And the tighter this is, it'll tighten up as you go, but the tighter it is, the harder it is to not catch strands on the material that you're lifting up. And you can get an actual braiding fid, which I've got to my left, that will let you avoid it. So this one, These two go over, so we went under. These two go under, so we go over. This strand right here, not the starting strand next to it, but this strand here, we're going under, we're going over again, and we're back to the start of the knot. So now we have an 8 bight Turk's head. You can see how it's filled in some from where it was earlier. We've completed it when we come up through here and we're parallel. I'll show you some neat ways to tuck the ends so they won't ever come undone when we get to the end of this knot. This is a whole process. I don't anticipate everybody's going to want to watch this whole thing, but people surprise me all the time, so I'm really shocked how many people like and enjoy and watch what I do. And how do you know when to stop adding stuff or removing stuff? Or that's a question I get quite often. And the answer is I don't really. I kind of wing it, because I've learned that the answer is often less complicated when you don't think, but just do. It becomes rote. It becomes like riding a bicycle. You don't think about the bicycle at all. Okay, so do you notice how you got 1, 2, 3 widths? So the nice part with this needle is it's about the same diameter as that. So I want to do 2 passes of this and then come back with black and add a highlight third pass. And you see we have a nice little octagon forming up top. So I'm actually, instead of going to do what going to 10, because I wasn't exactly planning how it was going to be for this, and I didn't calculate anything because I'm just winging it, because I wing a lot of things and realize my brain is probably better at averaging and guessing than most people. Of course, it could just be self-deceptive, which is entirely possible. Now we're going to follow along on the right side of the strand, and we're just going to make a pass all the way around, okay? So we're adding a second pass in white. So instead of expanding, we're going to just follow the right-hand side of whatever we've got in our hot little hands. And each of these passes will go to the inside of this, and the black pass will be in the center. And you can weld the ends together. You can do a lot of things to try and make it all one piece of string. I don't really care. It just, you have to figure out how you want it to turn out. So I'm just staying, and when you get to where you are, so that's a half twist to the left. Okay, I'm going to turn this needle a half twist to the left, and I'm going to just follow it. And if you twist it the wrong way, you'll find, because you'll have a full twist instead of a half twist. So we're just following this previous one, and when we get to the doubles, we're just going, if the strand goes over, we're just following that strand. Just follow the leader. And that's what I mean by just do, don't think, and double check that everything looks uniform and that you're getting a parallel track. So now we have less than a quarter turn. So we're following the leader here, just coming back through. One thing I find, though, is that if you rotate the whip, instead of trying to flip stuff around, if you just rotate the whip itself, I'm more successful in having it all just work out. And you have to be careful a little bit with the speed. If you pull paracord too fast, it will melt. And I've welded stuff together that way when there's a lot of friction. If you get to trying to do something too fast. Okay, so I have a full twist because I didn't twist the needle. That's okay. I pulled the twist all the way through. If you drop the needle and just run your fingers down, it's one way to straighten it out more or less. So we're just doing what the leader does. This one goes under 2, so we're going under 2, then it goes over 2, so we're just following it. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back up. Following that. Notice that we're adding, and this goes, you're turning it counterclockwise every time in this pattern. If you start off to the right, you'll be turning it clockwise. You can do this left-handed, right-handed, however you want to do it. Eighth twist all the way through. It's not bad because we're still on track. Okay, so it goes under 2 up here, and then over 2, and under 1, and then over 2, and you're just following the leader. You don't have to think, you just have to follow that other strand. And you can follow it as long as you don't get too much friction a ways. So, and again, you do not want to pull this too fast because you will suddenly have super hot liquid nylon. But you don't have to be gentle with it. You can pull it in bursts. And again, I'm not tensioning this up. I'm just basically getting it in line because you'll have to dress the knot when you're done anyway. Okay, so I dropped the needle. I'm winding it on through my fingers. And the shorter the piece that you're running gets, the faster everything goes, including reorienting the needle so it's even. You'll notice how well that did as a technique. Okay, I'm going underneath, 2, wiggling up through the hole. We're going underneath 1, underneath, over, under. We're just following the lead. Anyway, and you can tell yourself this same story that I'm telling you as far as just follow the leader. It won't lead you astray. When I started, I had more problems I was trying to memorize a bunch of stuff, and when I realized there was no need for any of that because it was all fine like it is, all I have to do is follow the side of the strand when I'm expanding via a second pass. You see how much smaller these holes are getting. Well, if you calculate 1, 2 strands, you'll have 1 strand in each direction. So this one will expand this way, and this one will expand down or up. So if I do a third pass, it would be all white. But you probably don't want it all white. It's nice to have a trace of another color. lift it and then wiggle it. You want to make sure you're not catching fibers. It's really easy the tighter this gets to catch the fibers where you don't want them. So take your time, enjoy the process. Either that or you're going to end up having to enjoy taking it apart and redoing it. So this has a half twist. I'm pulling the half twist through. Again, the secret I've found is you pinch it and just run it through your fingers with the needle dropped into the chair or onto the floor, and it'll straighten itself back out to where it's correctly in alignment. And it's an interesting, probably the most useful tip that I've given recently to people is stop thinking so much. Just enjoy the process and take your time and try not to catch the fibers. Try not to catch on fiber. No smoke. Okay, so this one goes over and it comes under this one. So we're going to lift this one up and we're going to get under. We're following the pattern of it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy doing this stuff as much as I do. So, I didn't really need the 10-foot of cord that I used. Probably only needed 6 foot. But you're always better off with more cord than less. I do have a calculator I built that lets me know exactly how much of what cord and how many passes, a bunch of stuff. If somebody wants that, let me know. I can send you the Excel document. It'll tell you. A bunch of useful stuff like that. Anyway, we're going under 2 here. So this is a C.S. Osborne breeding fid. You should probably have a couple of these in your toolbox. If you don't, they're fantastic. They're triangular, and you can kind of push them through, and it will stretch the hole open the appropriate amount for you to do whatever. When you pull it too hard, you will spin it more than you need to. Okay, I'm running my finger down it and dropping the needle again. I'm sure this video is going to be all over the place because there is no screen on this device. This is a GoPro Mini. I'm running it on battery power. I'm recording this at 4K, but when it goes to YouTube, it usually is 1080p. It's usually not 4K. I'm sorry about the lighting, but I didn't get to this till the afternoon, and I'm sitting in an easy chair to tie this because it's more comfortable than an office chair, and the lighting is not as good. I have a lot of very bright lights to help me see in the other room. Okay, squish those together. Again, here I caught a fiber there, but it seems like it's just one fiber. And I may regret not undoing it, but I'm going to go forward. Okay, so it looks like I have one pass all the way around. You can see how closed up this is. So run your fingernail down it. So you probably don't need, actually I use 6 So I had 13 feet to start with, not 9 or 10. So 13 feet was a bit much. Probably 13 foot is about right if I was just doing it all in white. Okay, so I'm following it. Okay, we're going, shifting these over. And the Osborne Fid is very useful for braiding all sorts of different materials. It's just one of the inexpensive tools from C.S. Osborne that is a quality tool manufacturer. They have quality tools. They're not a sponsor or anything. I don't have any sponsors or anybody donating anything to me. I'm just doing what I love, which is making whips and braiding things and tying knots and sharing with the world once in a while. I wish I had the patience to sit and shoot more video, but I've got to stay on task with getting stuff done, and I'm not, I don't make anything from YouTube at all. I'm not sponsored. I wish that I could cut the ads out on the stupid videos, because I have like 3-hour videos that people watch, or 3 hours of videos sometimes. People have asked how come people watch them. I'm like, I have no idea. Although I do the same thing. I'd rather watch a long video on a subject and put it in the background and listen for key points as I'm trying to accomplish something. Or sometimes what they say is much more interesting than what they are actively doing. And this is just a stream of consciousness thing, basically. I hate listening to dead air, so I'll try and share what weird tidbits I've learned doing these knots. I won't even remember what I said. You can always make sure that everything is seating nicely. Using my fingers to straighten out the needle again. Okay. We're going to go under here. We're going to go under this one, over that one, under this one, and we're back to the start of the knot. So here's where I'm going to give you a few little tips that are kind of cool and kind of useful. So you have to bury the end inside the knot somewhere, right? And it needs to be under at least 4 layers or it will come loose. It can get in a weird way. So what I like to do is this last pass, bring it over. And I'm going to go underneath 4 strands. And of course, I'm catching on the tripod, which will become probably 6 strands. You could cut it off there, but I'm kind of crazy perfectionistic about making sure that I'm not off in the weeds too much. And I'm always off in the weeds. That's the way my brain is wired. Okay, so use the Osborne Fid to get underneath 3 more, okay? You want to make sure you're not catching any fibers, and this blunt Fid is pretty good at not catching the 275 fibers. Although it closes up because it's under a little bit of tension. So I'm going to open these up more. And I'm immediately going to put this needle in and pray it goes through. Okay. So I'm going to leave that out the top. Then I'm going to, you notice there's a tripled strand here, right? You don't want 3, you want 2. So how do you get there? So first off, you try not to stick yourself with the pin that you used. And this is a useful tool. It's just another paracord needle with a piece of that whip maker cord that I've flared open and touched with a torch. At least theoretically I touched it with a torch. This is a titanium tent stake that is handy for torching it open or forcing the end of it open like so. So anyway, we have lost the narrative. We've got 3 and then up here we have 2. So we need to be sure that we only have 2. So you have to pull this up this way like so. And we're going to go under those 2, under and out. And I'm going to just torch the end of this. And hopefully I don't get that all over the camera lens. And we're going to tuck this whole strand through. Now, even got a half twist in it. That's annoying. I like things that stay perfect, but nothing you ever do would be perfect. Okay. So now this is tucked under 4 strands. I like to push these down because it is important that it has a shoulder down at the bottom so it doesn't try and walk away. And then you see there's just all these fairly even gaps. You can slide it, so we can slide it down. This Osborne fit is handy for just adjusting. So you can run around in a circle. This will bring the shoulder on the top more towards the edge because this is kind of a I'm going to cut this one off. Okay. And back it up. Yeah, I had way too much cordage. Okay. Nice part is I prefer to have longer scraps because I can do all sorts of stuff with longer scraps. Okay, so I'm going to slide these, slide this, slide this. So you have to kind of slide them sideways all the way around to create room because you're going to add a black strand up top. Okay, so this is more towards the shoulders now. So the black strand will make an octagon at the very top. And we have to set a bunch of these tools aside because otherwise they'll fall on the ground. So I have a 6-foot strand. I probably only need a 4-foot strand, but I have a 6-foot strand. Cut it about 45 degrees. You wait 4 seconds. It's always best to wait 3 or 4 seconds with nylon. It'll form a crust. And the goal is to have something you can screw onto, and you really want to screw this internally threaded paracord needle fid thing until there is nothing to catch, because if there's anything catching on the end there, you're going to hate yourself because it'll tear up and distort the fibers and everything else. Okay, so I started with the left divot. There's a second divot, a couple to the right. The reason I left a divot and a divot so that I could come in here, okay, like so. catching on something. Might be catching on a pin. Yeah, it's not catching on the cord. Okay, it's catching on the edge of one of the pins I put in. Okay, so you're going to pin this down. Now, we're backed off 1, 2. So we're backed off 2 from where this one is. So I'm going to do the same thing. Like this original strand goes under 1, 2, 3 of the doubles. So we went under 2. We're going to go under this one. And the cord goes under this. So I'm going to go all the way under 4 to follow the leader. So all I'm doing here is I'm just going to follow what this pair of strands is doing. And with 6 foot, it's a lot easier. It should go faster. Okay, so you just push the cord aside, work it underneath, lift it. You're going to pull it through. And up here, because there's the little plastic disc, you want to make sure that you get in here and open it up. So you don't want to catch any of the white fibers. You still are going to do it probably. Catching one is not as bad as catching a bunch of them. So you'll hear that thumbnail running all the time when I'm doing stuff, and that just makes sure that I'm in alignment with what I'm trying to do. Okay. So under here, over, under, over, under. Over, under. Okay, so we're following on. We're going to shove this down and over and wiggle it through. Half rotation so that it lays flat. You'll see what I mean about it's easier. Now, I've been working on this for about 45 minutes. If you're still with me, congratulations. I'm honored you hang out and listen to anything I say. This is what I'm passionate about. But I like to listen to longer format stuff, and I don't have the editing skills to make it all exciting and short. It already takes me hours to shoot the videos. Maybe I'll really become passionate about editing, or I'll find somebody who likes to edit that can make my work look more dynamic than it is and excite more people. I think I'm at like 700 followers. Okay, you hear that sound? That's not a sound you want to hear. So if you unscrew it and you don't have, you're going to have small burrs. If you can feel the burrs, just cut off the end at an angle and pull it back till pull it forward again. You got to throw away that little piece. Touch the end, roll it. Get the screw in there. Okay. But a lot of times just the amount of time you spend listening to what you're doing. So now we have 1, 2, and we're going to have 8 sides at the end. Okay. We're not going to go under the black one here because it goes under 2 of them. We're just going to go under the white one here, just like the white ones do. So we're following the leader. The leader didn't go under it either because I tucked it underneath stuff. Drop the needle. Get back to the needle. Okay, we're going to slide this over. Pull it up. Now we've got 3 here. We're sliding them over. We're pulling it up. Oh. Just snug. Okay, so this one is underneath because we buried it and brought it all the way to the top. So we're going to just ignore that and just follow the leader because we don't care. We just want it to follow the leader all the way up so the pattern stays right. Now here, these 2 leads do go under all 3. So you have to get under all 3 of them here. So again, if you're just following the leader and paying attention, you don't have to do too much thinking. Although this is one of the hardest ones because you've got to get all the way through that without catching fibers, or try to. It's also like when you're cutting leather, if you're doing leather whips and other things, you should always listen to how the blade is cutting through the material, because it'll tell you when the blade's getting dull. It'll tell you if it's chattering and causing rips instead of cuts. Your ears and fingertips sometimes hear and see better than you do. And I know it's true for me. My eyesight's always been better than 20/20 till recently, where my eyesight is at a short distance not so good. It's just getting old. But one nice part with YouTube is this channel can live longer than I do, theoretically. So any effort I put into helping others can persist. So if you haven't thought about setting up a YouTube channel for other people, because I tell people it's not for me, it's for you guys that care and might find some use out of some of my random babblings. The one thing I've learned over the years is I think way too much about way too many things, and sometimes that yields spectacular results, and sometimes it just causes random chaos. So, okay, we're coming up. You notice now this getting shorter, it's getting faster. So we're going to go under here. So I could have done 3 passes with the white at 6. But at 8, I could only do 2 passes of the white before I had to go to the black, which is all okay. It's all depends on what you want. And at 8, you get slightly better coverage because you're adding more material, because each of the passes is more than a 6 because there's 2 passes extra to go to an 8. Hopefully I'm staying in frame with all this. Trying to show it as I go. So, okay, so we're following the leader. I mean, part of this is boring, and if I had somebody here at the house, it would drive me nuts. Because I couldn't shoot video or I couldn't talk to you guys. So, to all of y'all, guys, gals, and others, cheerfully moving forward with this. You'll start to see we're getting a little classic lightning pattern on it that you get from multiple passes on a Turk's head. Although at 8 you get more bolts. Okay, I'm back. So I wanted to finish this whip up, but as you can tell, I'm running out of light. It took a while for the batteries to charge back up. It does okay as long as it's plugged into the wall, but it's got a short attention span after that. Okay. Yeah, so that is not battened up. It is. There's one little fiber right there. I hate these little things when they do catch one fiber. Okay, rather than cut a fiber, let's back it up here. Anyway. When I'm doing these things, it's hard to figure out where it's gonna have a weird catch. Okay. Starting to get tight enough where I'm really going to need the fid. So I'm going to take the fid here and avoid snagging stuff as best I can. Yeah, the closer you get to the end, the tighter this knot gets, which is why you want it so loose in the beginning. You really don't want it tight when you start, because you can see how much tighter this knot is. I'm having to go grab a breeding fid that I usually use for leather. So you can see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one is going to be 5. So we got 3 more passes after this, all the way through the knot, or 3 more passes around in a circle. It's amazing how things open up and then sag back really fairly quick. Okay, so I need to go under here. Like trying to manage something that doesn't want to move. Anyway, you're starting to get more complete lightning bolts down. And that gave us one more. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we gotta pick up go under those two. Wonder how this does in this light level. I'm curious. It'll be interesting to see. Under 3, over 3. It's always such a satisfying kind of a roll as that rolls through. Under 3 and over 3. Half a twist. Yeah, I think the best thing I've ever found is dropping the needle next to the chair and just pinching the paracord to keep the thing roughly centered. It seems to do the best. It's a little more difficult when I'm using the FID. And I haven't even dressed this knot yet. This is still before I dress it. I don't know that I'm going to bother showing you guys the whole dressing pass or two. Because once you get the gist, you've got the gist. But you see what I meant when I started this knot, where I was saying you just have to kind of riff on it and you look at the hole size to determine, how much material is going to take to completely fill all the void. Anyways, trying to keep, you can't keep the paracord from rolling as much as I try. Some of this goes pretty fast, some of it slows down. It's getting to the end of the day and it's taken me longer than I thought to make this. But it does make a unique product. I think I was shocked by how much time it actually took, at least while I was shooting video. I am a touch faster when I'm not trying to take the imagery in my head and turn it into words. And once you get the pattern down and what you're following, as long as you don't lose track of what you're following doing a Turk's head, you pretty much can be doing other things, talking and doing stuff, without making any serious mistakes. If you're anything like me, it'll take you a while to stop making as many mistakes because you're not paying attention to the correct things. You're just paying attention to most of it. And like I said, the sound of the paracord zipping through is handy to determine whether or not you've snagged a fiber or two. One or two, and you probably, if you cut it or back it out, you probably are going to be fine. And you can touch up the heel knot at the end if you wanted with the torch, though I don't like the feel of baked paracord, so it's not my first choice. But any fluffies you could touch up, keep them from fraying any further. But I oftentimes wonder when people were using different cordage back in the day if the sound of it singing through and the vibration of your fingertips tying knots on boats being, for different decorative cover knots. Like I said, you get down to the end and trying to keep it loose enough to get through without snagging stuff is a pain. But it's part of may have to do this and work this needle through next to that, like so. Make sure I'm on the right side of the light color. Okay. We have 7 down there at the end. Then we come over the top here. And dressing it, you basically slowly pull a loop through the entire whip. A loop through the entire heel knot. And at the end of the loop through, you'll pull on this little stubby end and seat it. I don't know if the camera's going to last. So I'm down to a pass and a half. It's a lot faster moving the loop when you have less material to move. Part of the reason I want to get this done is so I can get it shipped out, so I can get on to my next pair of 4-footers. Okay, if you'll notice now, we've got two parallel, just two tracks that don't have a lining, which means we have one here. This one goes on up, so now we're down literally to the last pass. So it's always fun when I get excited when I get to the end of one of these knots. I've been playing around with gaucho knots too. I like the gaucho knot a lot, or gaucho style knot, like a fan knot. You bite into the end of the whip really effectively without really covering the hilt. Might be a good choice to use a gaucho if you're using a coin on the end of your whip, for instance. Hey. Half twist. And this adds the last leg once we get down here. This is the last one going across the top to make 8. The last from up here goes under 3 instead of under 2 because there's a black one from the first pass. Down to the last half, and everything from here will be under 3 at least. So. So another little tip when you're doing this is when you tighten the strands going around, pull them this way towards the front of the whip to really wrap that tight. If you pull the other way, you're going to end up trying to take it off this end. You'd rather this end shrink back to the edges, you know. So. Anyway, okay, now we'll see the black strip at the bottom down there. We're going under here. One of the things about getting this last bit in here and tucking it is that it makes it almost impossible to find, and it won't ever come undone if you do it right. Okay. I'm going to go next to the black one and underneath 2. Hopefully 2. And no scritchy sound, so that's a good sound. And then under this one. So you'll notice that the white and the black are offset a little bit. And theoretically, we could go a little bit more, one more, and then it would match where the white and black are offset at the same. Now this does create a little bit of a bump, but grand scheme of things is pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to see about dressing this real quick. So I'm going to cut this one up here off about a finger's width from the end. And I probably won't need this paracord needle. I will need the scissors in a minute. Okay, so you pin down this first white one with your finger, come up and grab it. Gently try and grab just the first one. Grab this one. And go around and work the little wrinkle all the way around. You'll see you've tightened it up by a quarter inch or so. Anyway, as you can tell, this takes more attention because I'm trying not to cause fraying as I move these. And I find it kind of soothing to pay that kind of attention, but it does tend to make me quieter. And if I'm tired, it makes me more quiet too. Anyway. We got almost half an inch by the time we're here. It takes you'll rope burn your fingertips and other things trying to tighten one of these down. I'm just snugging it. I'm not putting a whole bunch of poundage, so I can't really grab paracord with this size paracord very well with my thumb. Okay, so we're on this one. So we're at almost 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and we're back where we started. So on this one, on this pass, I'm going to come up here and grab in between the black one and the white one, trying not to grab the... Are we there yet? No, we're over one. It's all good. Now we're down to the bottom. Getting quite a loop there. So because this string is this string and this string is this string up to here, I'm going to get in the middle up here. Pull out just the middle white one. Let's see if I can. I could be wrong. Could be this one. I lose track of the strands, and the light is getting bad, and I'm running out of things to say while I'm trying to work a simple way through a knot, and I can't even hardly speak. It's so strange. Now I'm going to grab the middle one maybe. No, this one's not it either. I just think I've got the right one. I surprised myself by being wrong yet again. You see we're getting quite a long loop. It's a couple inches long now. I don't know that I can grab this far. As the friction increases, it becomes harder to pull this through. Plus, you're hoping you don't hear a pop like that, because that means somebody grabbed a fiber. Namely you, or me in my case. I grabbed a fiber trying to get through. But fortunately, it was just one fiber it broke. But one fiber of nylon it's pretty strong. It's amazing how much it jumps. So if you pinch it, you can actually twist this to wrench the cord through and tension it up. Anyway, this is pleasantly boring, I guess. It is satisfying to work the tension work the cord through where you want it to go. Have it nice and tight. I caught several little spots in here. Maybe we'd be lucky. If you have a sharper fid, you might be able to grab it just by, or a marlin spike, you might be able to spike it in there, but I think it would probably crush a couple things you don't want. Snap some fibers loose. Pull it out of shape is the big thing, because then the weave is all messed up if you do that. Getting there. Oh, it's getting pretty tight. It's pretty amazing that when you work a 2-pass thing, you get it. Oh, I caused myself one. I hate it when I fray bits of the cord. And I'm not putting a ton of tension on this, but boy, it's got some tension in it from all the squishing. And it will relax a little bit, and you can roll the knot and get it more perfect and more flat and a bunch of stuff. And you're dressing it. It is interesting as you're working with this to think that this kind of artwork is thousands of years old. These cover knots, at least the Turk's head style knot's been around for thousands of years. Oh no. I wonder if it's... So trying to dig for Anyway, when you go searching for the one that got pulled through, sometimes you can grab it, pull it back through. And sometimes you can't. So, see if that's what was pinning it. We'll hope. Alrighty. It's really funny. I don't even know that the camera's on. I'm so focused on trying to pull this cord through. Usually it's the first pass if it gets snagged up. What I was talking about, if you had a marlin spike, it's just sharper than this, you put it across the cord and you could give it a pull. Of course, it would help if you have the stuff where you need it. And not one pass before. Anyway. Okay, and then we probably want to break out a set of pliers or Leatherman pliers or something and pull that on through. So when you pull this and cut it, it starts here on this side. The second strand passes there, and the third strand passes there, and then goes underneath, so that the two tails are under roughly an inch. Now over here we have the black strand pinned. We came all the way up, and you can see it's got kind of an angle there on that one because this strand is the pinned strand. But the black layer, because it's the top layer, is a fairly easy one to get hold of. And then just have to get under it. Gently lift. This is where this tool is a must-have if you're braiding anything. It's really good at getting under stuff, giving you a flat surface to pinch. Yes, I've got some fids that are bigger, and I've got some marlin spikes that are bigger, but this is the size I use for most of my stuff because most of it is pretty small. And there's quite a bit of tension. I'm basically pulling from every other one. What do you guys think about when you're doing this? I am genuinely curious what other people are thinking about when they're putting these knots together. Oh, yeah. There we go. That getting the middle strand to tension is the hardest because you're poking through layers potentially. That would help if I'm grabbing the right one that isn't already tensioned down, huh? If I wanted to move it. I may end up after this whole thing saving the video and just going back and redoing this whole knot. It really is mildly imperfect because it's got a few frayed spots. Some of those went back into shape and some of them didn't. But I do want to finish this to say I finished it all in one video. Okay, so the next pass, 2 passes all the way around. Daylight's going away and I'm left with a small bulb overhead. I should go back into my office where I can see better. By the way, that you can still stab yourself with this tool. You do have to be a little careful. It's not a razor blade, but it is a blunted triangle that's got a fairly small point. Can't tell you how many times I've driven it into my finger. Had to go wash my finger and wash the tool. But too many to wish to remember for sure. Okay, one more pass around to get back here. But it creates a cool lightning bolt pattern and a cool little cap for the end of the NFC chip, the end of the hilt. And it's a popular pattern. Mostly you see 6s, no 8s or 10s or 12s. This one's an 8. Okay, so I was wrong. That is the last pass. And alrighty. Put my needle down. Okay. This is also where you tend to stab yourself because you're trying to even stuff up. And these don't move. So you have to be a little careful of this chip in here because it's encased in plastic. Anyway, I may end up cutting this whole thing off of here. So a fast way to get these, you can use a scalpel blade. You can lift it, get it down at the base and roll it, and it will snip off. And you can tuck it with your tool back inside. And it also works for this. So there's the knot. So thank you for watching.